You're not paying attention. China is in 2021 what Japan was in the 1920s. I'll say that again. China now is what Japan was in the 1920s. A century ago, how quickly things repeat. Just real quickly, I don't want to get too far afield on this stuff, but most of you were sleeping during history class. I'm sorry, you missed out on a lot, and I don't blame you because some teachers weren't very good. I had some really awesome history teachers. Back in the 1920s, and by the way, Japan was our ally during World War I against the Germans. People forget that, if they even cared in the first place. But Japan wanted to be the power in the Pacific. Japan wanted to be the center of the universe in the Pacific. So what did they do? They aggressively expanded their military. All right? They extensively trained their military, and they flexed their muscle. They developed technology like the Zero fighter, which for its time was the best fighter plane flying. Seriously, better than the Luftwaffe had. They developed that. They developed higher, better torpedo bombers. And then Japan started to throw elbows around like John Winsink of the Boston Bruins back in the 1970s. I was going through my old hockey cards. So, even Yvonne Boulder, have anybody? All right. So anyway, in the 1930s, early 1930s, after all this militarization of Japan, you don't build up a military society not to use it any more than you take a Viagra if you're not going to have a date. Well, some of you might, but that's on you. You build up a military, you train a military, you militarize a society to use it. And that's exactly what Japan did, invading Manchuria in 1931, turning it into a Japanese province, Manchukuo. And then, as time went on, Japan realized, hey, we don't have any raw materials. We don't produce our own oil. There's a million minerals we don't have, so we better find where we can get them. So they looked at rubbers. Not those. Not prophylactics. Tires for cars and stuff. They didn't grow rubber, so, okay, who grows rubber? Hey, we need that land for ourselves. And little by little, look, the Japanese first attack in the Pacific was not Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. It was China 10 years earlier. And they wrought havoc on China, big time. Eventually, the empire of the rising sun, the sun set on it. The Battle of the Coral Sea, the Battle of Midway, Japan lost the cream of its crop, and it was only a matter of time before the attrition of our military and naval and air power in the Pacific, island by island, and bypassing the really strongly fortified ones, paid off with the defeat of Japan. But they wanted to be king you-know-what in the Pacific. China today is doing exactly what Japan did in the 1920s. Massive military buildup. Absolutely massive. And they're throwing elbows all over the place. These islands in the South China Sea. Do you think they're just doing it because they want another island? They just took over an unoccupied island that I don't even know the name of from World War II, where we had an air base. And they have made it their own air base in the Pacific. China wants to be, here's one critical difference, China wants to be not only king you-know-what in the Pacific, China wants to be the superpower in the world. So when a nation projects weakness and vulnerability, I don't know, like maybe petroleum pipelines being hacked, maybe inflation ridiculous, maybe people not working, maybe people living in panic and fear. If China detects vulnerability, it simply increases the chances for something very, very nasty happening in the future. So keep your eyes on China. And another thing, China, we talk a lot about race in America. There's a lot I'd like to say about Chinese perceptions of their own ethnicity and its importance in the world. Let me just say this. Tiananmen Square is perceived as the center of all of the universe by the Chinese. The center of the entire universe by the Chinese. That sounds like Asian hate. Good luck with that argument. I'm part Mongolian and Tibetan, so gotcha. Anyway, watch China, watch China, watch China. It is 2:22 at News Radio 930 WBEN. And actually, I'll tell you something else. What I'm doing, I don't want to get too far afield on this, but I had a meeting on Saturday, and we were going over some merchandise for the show. And I'm talking like hats, water bottles, fleeces, shirts, nice shirts, and crappier shirts. But my one prerequisite is they are made in the United States. So they're going to cost more money, but they're going to be made in the United States. I do not want my name on anything that is made by our enemy, which is China. Now, you know, one of the things that I hate to say, but it has to be said, if you recognize that China is our enemy, you understand that we need allies against China. Can you think of a strongish country in Central Europe, Asia, that maybe we've been allied with before, even though they weren't the best of people and shot a bunch of Polish officers in the woods of Katyn in 1940? Oh, yeah, Russia. Strategically, it makes sense